building an altar, first of all, you need to understand what is an altar, right? And I'm quite picky about the spelling here. We have to write, it's an altar, A-L-T-A-R. That is a sacred space. It's like a sacred shelf, a sacred table, a sacred area in your home, in your garden, in your office, where energy collects. It's kind of a pool of energy. So then when you are in the energy field, you remember we talked about the torus of energy in a previous module. So when you are in the torus of energy of your altar, you are then altered. And that is the A-L-T-E-R, alter, which means to change. So what you place on your altar is going to alter you. Homonyms, right? I was a queen spelling bee in grade school, and I'm bringing this here too. So just to make sure that you know the difference between an altar and that it is meant to alter your life. It's meant to alter your energy vibes. All right? So an altar is basically from thousands of years ago. You can see that there are some homes that have been preserved from prehistoric times, from the Roman times in Pompeii under the volcano. And you see groupings of statues, groupings of, well, they didn't have pictures, but they had like frames. They had carvings of people, carvings of deity. You know, the Venus of Willendorf from the caveman area, right? Just a really big woman with really big breasts, and this, you know, she signified fertility. She was one of the first goddess image that was ever found. Those images, the goddesses, the gods, you can find them usually with wheat, grains, corn, and those groupings form an altar. And it's something that we know, and it's been passed down from generation to generation. We're just not always used to the fact of having home altars, not in this Western Catholic society. Because we all always think of an altar being at the front of the church, and that's where they do the ceremonies, where the host is being transformed into the body of Christ, and usually there's a little bit of a relic there coming from a saint. So that's the altar that's in church, and it feels very, very formal. But the altars that we have in our homes don't have to be that formal. And yet they're filled with so much beautiful energy. So what's an altar? You will select a shelving area or a table, or it can be a bookshelf. If you have pets or small kids, you want it to be an area where it's safe, where they won't go and play with the crystals and everything, the incense, the fire, especially if you have lit candles. So you want an area that is safe from pets, from kids, and even from curious neighbors who might come into your sacred space, right? So this altar can be in your closet also. It can be behind closed door, and then you open the door when you're ready to meditate. On that altar, you will place special groupings, and the next sections are going to help you choose those groupings that are going to build the energy for you. So you will have pictures. You might use incense. You might use color, sacred geometry. You want to use as much as possible and yet as little as possible, because you don't want it to be cluttered. Cluttered energy becomes very chaotic, and then you don't quite know what the altar is there. Okay, so the altar here on the shelf is not just decorative. It's not just, oh, let's just put all of these things together on the shelf and that's going to be an altar. No, an altar is very intentional. And so you have to be clear, precise, concise when you select what you put on your altar. So when you select an altar, when you do an altar, you need to know, first of all, why are you building an altar? Is it to increase your psychic senses? Is it to work on your health? Is it to reduce stress? Is it to invite more money and abundance in your home? Is it to help with a grant, an education? Is it to help with your memory? So that is kind of your first task, is to know that it's very intentional. That is an altar. It encapsulates an intention, and then it radiates that intention up into spirit, back into your world, and every time that you're with that altar, it alters you so that you're always aligned with your intention. Does that make sense? In the next little bit, we'll go more in details about the how-tos. All right, see you there.